What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to LTL Podcast. This is episode 60, and it is August 18, 2023. I came in a little bit earlier because Bryan Kohberger's defense team is currently on arguing a motion to the judge. I want to go live here and not cut out. We'll just get right to the live action and see what they're talking about.
People that had opted out of the databases that they are allowed in, and we don't know if they uploaded information to MyHeritage. If we have that raw data, we will be able to make that determination. It could be that nothing is amiss, but certainly when we're having to fight this hard to get this information, it makes us quite suspect, especially when you got a witness like Ms. Vargas with her experience who's saying this happens in the industry.
We're going to play that witness testimony this evening.
And every single person in this courtroom should have pause when we are talking about forensic science that is no more than 5 years old. We know through the course of time with forensic science that there are all kinds of problems that arise when we rely on it. Teeth marks are a key example of where, years
Welcome
ago,
back, everybody. This is part two.
Science.
You have Bryan Kohberger's defense arguing with Judge right now about the DNA evidence and the testimony today.
And with all
We're back live.
Possible mistakes that could be made, and it's also possible that things that it could have been.
We will play, and I forget her first name.
Appropriate. And finally,
what was her name? Vargas. What was her first name? We're going to play that testimony today.
And what also you heard from Mr. Mercer is this intersection between the science side and the legal side and everything that our team is having to do with that. And the state as well. We've got to understand it. We've got to have the raw data to know what we need to do with that. And then we've got to figure out if we have defenses that we need to raise for Mr. Kohberger. So individually, each of these experts gave you the information that you needed to order a motion to compel on the genealogy information that we've asked for. Cumulatively, it is overwhelming that we must have this evidence to do our work. Thank you.
Let me, I just want to make sure I understand this. So you have all the information from the labs and all that as regarding the STR. Is that right?
Well, Judge, with the exception of all of the emails, which was one of the things that we were having some discussion about. So we have some emails that we can tell there were other emails attached that weren't, or attachments that are not there, and we have blank pages. And so the solution to that is simply order it. And then they'll take that to the Idaho State Lab and the FBI lab that's been involved and tell them that we need it all, and then we'll have it.
If it exists. And we've had a couple of arguments about that already.
If it exists, and I'm not willing to concede that it doesn't, Judge.
And I understand that. I understand you're asking that. and I'll have some questions for the state too, because they're arguing that it doesn't, whatever happened with the genealogy DNA doesn't have bearing, has no bearing on the case.
Well, that's their whole argument. That's why you had 4 witnesses today to explain why that is so critical. So that's a different argument than whether or not we have all the Idaho State Lab and FBI Lab STR emails and the emails that discuss genetic genealogy. Because we understand that they've said you shouldn't get anything related to genetic genealogy. But what we're also telling you is that we don't believe that we have all of the emails related to all of the DNA evidence related to STR. And if you enter an order, then the labs that are involved, it'll be clear to them that they've got to produce that.
You're suggesting, hey, it might be just fine. But you need to examine that to determine that it was just fine.
Are you talking about the genetic genealogy?
Yes.
There's the possibility of both. Honestly, I don't believe that it probably is just fine, Judge. If you're really asking, we're having to fight so hard for this. And we have someone who's just testified who has worked for law enforcement.
I don't think this is going to be a win for the defense.
So I can make the assumption that it was done correctly. I can make the assumption that it was
fighting
done
hard,
correctly.
and I don't think he's going to give.
He probably wouldn't be fighting as hard about it. That's my assumption.
Well, right. They're a little bit suspicious about it.
Absolutely.
Why do we get all this? But
Yeah.
let's just say, for the sake of discussion, that FBI went around the rules. Does it have any impact?
It does. It does for a variety of reasons. It's going to have an impact on the method of cross-examination. As a preliminary matter, it's probably going to result in a motion to suppress based on an improper search and privacy rights. So we're going to have pre-trial litigation.
This is really interesting.
Mr. Kohberger's rights. But Judge, we can't make a decision about who until we know what the raw data is and what it says.
Sure.
Right?
Well, I don't want to get into it.
Dante, I want to bring you in
Why are
really
they cutting
quickly. We're
out?
listening to the arguments made. I mean, talking about sample switching,
Why
contamination,
do they keep cutting
privacy.
out?
Defense counsel is
We
saying
wanna
we
hear the
need
courtroom
information
footage.
or we cannot effectively represent our client. I mean, it's a valid argument.
Frustrating.
Yes, and there's big picture. Let's go. There's
This is a
two
very
things.
important
When
moment
evidence
in
comes in,
friggin'
it has to be
testimony today.
reliable,
We want to
and
hear
it has to
this.
be gathered in a legal way. What they're saying is we don't know if it's reliable
That's
because
her
we
name,
don't know the
Gabrielle
background
Vargas. We're gonna
testing
play
and how
that
they got
today.
this sample, and we also don't know if it was gathered in a
This
legal
is the
way
most
because the
important,
policemen have
critical
checked
point in this
databases that they
hearing. We
shouldn't
waited
have
all
access
day for this
to.
part.
And if either of
And
those
now
are
they're
true,
bringing
then that
experts to
DNA
talk
should
over
come
this.
out.
Yeah, I mean, the
Crazy.
judge just said, let's just pretend the FBI did go around the rules. What kind of impact would that have? And then the attorney just said, yeah, we're going to do a motion to suppress, improper
back to the
search,
hearing.
privacy. I mean, this is a big deal.
Yes. You always hear that the phrase is fruit of the poisonous tree. Once
Exactly.
someone does something illegal, everything that came after that. So if they looked in these databases and they weren't supposed to, whatever evidence they got from that search is out. Anything that comes after that illegal motion is gone. And so that
we
could
need to hear
impact
what's
the
going
DNA
on in the
evidence.
freaking
What do you think the
hearing.
judge is going to do?
There's a lot missing here from what I'm hearing in her argument. There's a lot missing. Some of the research, the initial tests that were done. I don't know if you can truly
Do you want to hear these
authenticate this
panelists, or do
evidence.
you want to hear the
So
court
the
hearing?
judge is really
If
going
you
to
want
have
to hear
to
the
push the
panelists, type a
prosecution
1 in the
to
chat. If
say,
you want to hear
what
the
did
court
you
hearing,
use?
type
And
a
if they
2.
can't show that, then he may have no choice.
They're
but to throw it
arguing
out.
right now.
We're going to have to see. All right, Dante,
Another
thank you
point.
so much for joining
We
us
waited
tonight.
all day for this.
Great insight. I really appreciate you staying around and giving us your thoughts on this. I am Kelly Craft. It has been a true pleasure
What the
being with you tonight. So coming up next, we are going to go to closing arguments. We have Julie Grant. She is going to be in tonight for Vinnie Politan.
They're
And
cutting
tonight,
away.
more coverage of these motions hearings in the Idaho College murders case. So interesting to hear about
It's
what
so
the judge is
interesting.
saying
Cut
in this
away
case
for a break.
and how the attorneys are saying if we don't have this information,
You've got to
we
be
cannot
kidding me.
effectively represent Bryan Kohberger in this case, talking about privacy issues,
That was the most
contamination
compelling part
possibilities,
of the
and
argument
emails. They were
all
getting
day.
emails that maybe some didn't even have attachments. So
What
really
the
interesting to
hell,
see
man?
and hear these arguments that are taking
Yeah.
place out in Idaho tonight. Thank you so much again for joining us. Stay with us. You are.
Come on, Vinny, get back here. Let's. Jesus Crow. What the flip, man? That was the most compelling part of this whole thing today. They actually were getting to something good. All right, let me see if I can pick up the stream somewhere. Holy shnikes. I cannot believe that they just cut out of that. Oh, hey, we're arguing a very key point in the case right now. Let's cut to a commercial break. Flippin' A. Let's see. Part 4. No, I know what that is. We're at the mercy of Court TV now. Oh, jeez Louise. All right. Well, interim to that, I found this very interesting. We'll wait till Court TV decides they want to come back. First thing I want to do first is just raise a little bit of awareness here for the victims of the Maui fire. I found a vetted, credible site through the Maui community Facebook page. It's legitimate, and I actually have the link posted up above. I made a $25 donation earlier today, but this is a community fund to donate to the Maui Strong Fund to help the victims of the wildfires. And like I said, I have the link up there. If you can find it in your heart, they're taking donations via PayPal. I actually did a little PayPal earlier. I sent $25. I covered the fee. It was like $26.01 or something like that. But if anybody feels like they can donate, please let's get a donation out to those victims. Here, I'll show you. I did let me bring this up. I did a little, I think I just froze my screen. Yeah, I did a little donation earlier. Hang on a second. I did like I sent out $25. So if you can find it in your heart up there above, we'll leave the link clipped up above. You can click on there. They're taking PayPal, credit cards, whatever. I sent in $25. I'll continue to give a little bit more as time goes on and get those people of the citizens over there some relief. So again, if you find it in your heart, please do that. I'm still waiting for Court TV to come back from break. What I found interesting, though, before I came live back on air, I found this article from Inside Edition that talks about Bryan Kohberger being at a pool party. So Bryan Kohberger exhibits bizarre behavior with 2 bikini-clad college co-eds at pool party, says WSU student. Let me just see if Court TV is back. Court TV is not back. Bryan Kohberger asked a young woman for her number and then turned to her friend and asked her the same question. I think this is Basseth, tells Airmail, a digital media outlet, that in the summer of 2022, he met Kohberger at a pool party being held at the Grove at Moscow in an off-campus apartment complex popular with students at the University of Idaho. I just want to check and see if the court. No, they're okay. Court TV is going to come back up live here. I'm going to cut out of this article. Hopefully, we get a chance to read through it. But I want to be back to the feed because that's the most important thing that we wanted to see today. And they cut out during a vital argument. I don't know why they would have done that, but why would they cut out during that? But we'll wait here. Court TV should be back. We'll go back live. And then if we have another break, I'll go back to that. I'll go back to that. All right. Let's see.
Was the crime that shook the nation. 4 University of Idaho students brutally stabbed to death in the middle of the
I'll
night.
go back to that article.
And after a multi-state investigation using videos, cell phone analysis, and DNA tracing, investigators found the man they say is responsible for killing Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana. Now the accused is back in the courtroom as his defense team is preparing for his upcoming trial. Tonight, we're breaking down everything you need to know from today's hearing for Bryan Kohberger.
Good Friday evening to you, and welcome to Closing Arguments. I'm Julie Grant, in tonight for Vinnie Politan. We kick things off this evening in Idaho, where earlier this year the legislature voted to authorize the firing squad as a form of execution. That new law went into effect on July 1st and makes death by firing squad an option.
Carrie, I don't know if you
lethal
saw, but
drugs
I
are
made you a
unavailable.
mod. So
And of course,
congratulations. Thank you to
prosecutors
the
are pursuing the death
moderation
penalty
group.
against accused killer Bryan Kohberger if he is convicted at his trial, which is currently set for this fall. Now, while Kohberger was charged before the new law went into effect, it is still possible that he could face this form of execution. So that is important to know. Now, today, Bryan Kohberger is in court and still in court right now at this hour for his motions hearing. Also in the courtroom, family members of Kaylee Gonzalez, one of those slain college students. Now, one family member today could be seen wearing a T-shirt reading "Justice for Kaylee." Idaho House Bill 186 shots.
Holy schmolies.
To the courtroom hours ago to watch this all unfold. Kaylee's mother, Christy, told me that they're optimistic and that the judge will make some of those right decisions. And as I just left the courtroom now, as you said, it's still transpiring inside this Latah County courthouse. It's about to wrap up for the day, it seems. I see the family members looking to each other as the judge is making some decisions, nodding, agreeing with prosecutors' arguments, and staring down the man they believe murdered their daughter and 3 of her friends last November. Inside the courtroom, we all have our eyes on the door where the accused mass murderer would enter and exit. He's wearing a gray suit and tie. His ankles aren't shackled together, but you can tell there's some sort of security around his leg or ankle that makes it a little bit difficult for him to walk normally, it seems as though, in the courtroom. And he gave a slight glance up toward the gallery when he first entered earlier today with this weird, kind of odd, almost smile, like a slight smile, like he caught himself possibly trying to smile. It made an awkward moment. I looked over to the family of Kaylee Gonzalez in that moment, and her mother, Christy, looked to her sister, rolled her eyes, and shook her head at what the defendant did in that moment. And the only other noticeable moment, he listens to the argument as he turns his head to each person talking. There was a lighthearted moment, a chuckle from the judge, and in that moment the defendant also smiled, Julie, as well. But it's been a long day for all those who have been a part of this hearing.
Absolutely, Chanley. And we know so many different motions on the table. If you would kind of hit the highlights for us, please, the biggies that they've taken up so far, if you would.
Let's go back.
Absolutely. So most of the day has been spent on the defendant's third motion to compel discovery, specifically the genealogy investigation that the FBI took on in November to try to pinpoint a potential lead, a potential suspect in this case. As we know, Julie, that homed in on the biological father of the defendant and made him the prime suspect. So now the defense wants all of that uncovered. And in their effort to try to convince the judge today that this is needed, they called 4 experts to the stand to kind of educate the judge a little bit more about why they would need this type of information. And not only that, but they also say there's still some things that the prosecution hasn't turned over, including this. Let's watch.
That has to do with other DNA profiles found at the scene. They have provided full discovery for the sheet, the DNA found on the next sheet, but not the other 3 unidentified male DNA samples, 2 from within the house, 1 from outside of it.
Your Honor, we didn't realize this was going to be an issue today. We had given the defense everything that we received from the lab. They'd asked for DNA workups on other people. To the extent that they don't have them, they weren't done. We can't produce something that doesn't exist.
So that was interesting. Actually, the arguments went on this afternoon, Julie, to reveal that the prosecutor, Bill Thompson.
So Allison sends in a $4.99 super chat, says, I can't take back the BCK bleeding hearts and their BS any longer. Bryan Kohberger, Bleeding Hearts, and they're BS any longer. So quick to downplay the hard facts and gun for a killer based on chatter and rumor. I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. $4.99. I don't know why they cut from the feed. That was one of the most compelling parts of what we were listening to, and they decided to switch. And
a key piece of information possibly
I don't know.
about the testing and how that would unfold. Let's watch.
If I were an attorney and I found a case where genetic genealogy has been utilized by
We're going to play Gabriela
and
Vargas'
I want to
testimony
know if
today.
they follow the protocols and rules, do I need the genetic genealogy information that, like, you produce as a forensic genetic genealogist? Do I need that information so I would know?
If you wanted to know what the process was, whether or not there was work product, if you wanted to verify how did you come
She didn't even
to your
know
conclusion,
when she got her bachelor's degree, what year.
absolutely.
I don't know. A little weird.
Or if I wanted to know,
I would know.
You would need the data.
Essentially, her testimony was a part of the defense argument, Julie, where they want to make sure that the FBI followed the proper protocol and even garnering some of these.
I'm refreshing the East Idaho news because they have all four. They have 4 parts up right now. I'm hoping they drop the 5th part soon, because that was kind of the argument I wanted to see.
As you know, Chanley,
But they cut
how
out.
was it hearing the arguments? Did it get heated at points? Would you kind of take us back with what the judge said, if anything, in the midst of hearing from both sides, please?
Right, Julie, it was interesting to hear, especially the prosecutors respond to this in argument, because they didn't cross-examine any of the defense's experts that they put on the stand today. So we really didn't know what they were thinking until the prosecutor stood up to address it. Ultimately, the defense summarized what the experts said throughout the day, and then the prosecutor stood to address it, saying that the material that this defense is seeking does not fall under the Idaho rules of discovery, and it's not even in their possession, because this genetic genealogy investigation only is a process that leads to a lead. It leads to an investigative lead, but then they confirm that lead with the investigation. The confirmation is what matters, according to prosecutors. This does not, and they wouldn't have called any of this during a trial. It's not relevant to the trial, and they say all that information should be protected and not revealed to the defense or really anyone, Julie.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. I see what
And
you're saying.
the judge did not make a decision.
Yeah.
I forgot that part.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Well, and this is a lot. I'm wondering it, and you've
to
gone
see
through
everybody
all the
back in.
motions, and I'm
Thank you,
wondering if they're even
Teresa.
going to
Thank
get
you,
to
Lily.
everything today, Chanley. You know, what's coming next? Might they have to take us into another day or something?
Well, I think he's going to take that one under advisement. And I just want to kind of note that court is done now, and we've seen the family members of Kaylee Gonsalves leave behind me. So that's kind of the action that's going on around me currently outside this courthouse. But so the judge is going to take that under advisement as far as whether or not the genetic genealogy investigation will be handed over. But today there were some key decisions that were made, Julie, the other pending motions. As far as the motion from prosecutors to reconsider that 37-day stay that the judge did grant, that was taken up, as well as the motion from the defense for a second stay in the proceedings, because again, they want to continue investigating the grand jury proceedings and attack the indictment against the defendant. Ultimately, the judge rolled back the previous stay and denied that second stay. He wants this trial to happen October 2nd, and in that effort, he actually outlined a very specific schedule in the next.
I find it strange that someone that has a bachelor's degree wouldn't remember the year that they graduated their bachelor's degree. I was not the only one that said that. I saw that in other conversations today on Twitter, and so I don't know what you're talking about. And sometimes cancer meds, did I miss something in the chat where someone said something about her teeth or her looks? Because I didn't say anything. So I don't know. Truth exposed. Who said something about Gabriela Vargas? Because I don't know if anybody said anything about cancer or anything like that. Yeah, I didn't see any bad comments either. All I said was I just found it strange. Someone that graduated with a bachelor's degree, with her bachelor's degree, they asked her what year she graduated, and she said she couldn't remember. It's just strange. And there was other people that were told. I mean, it was all over Twitter today. But no one said anything about their looks. What's going on here?
And again, a Microsoft executive.
Oh boy. I don't even know if we're gonna get anything about this. All right, I'm gonna pop out of here. We'll go back to the article. I'm a little disappointed right now because the most compelling part of the day, I wanted to see that argument from the defense, and Court TV decided, well, we're going to go take a station break now. We made you sit through 4 hours of testimony that, unfortunately probably put a lot of people to rest, to sleep. And we'll cut away from the defense now arguing after that testimony where the judge is having back and forth with the defense. We're going to cut out and yeah, that's what it is. All right, let's go back to this article from Inside Edition. Kohberger had been invited to a party by his neighbor at WSU dorms, Christian Martinez. This detail was shared by Martinez in a number of interviews after Kohberger's arrest, along with the fact that he did invite Bryan after being approached by his father, Michael Kohberger, on the day he moved in with his son to the WS dorm. I met his dad in a parking lot. He just stopped and started talking to me, Martinez told Lauren Crime. His dad was wanting to introduce me to Bryan, and he said something, I don't know the exact word he used to describe him, but he was like something like he has a hard time making friends, or he's kind of shy. We were just shooting the shit, but he was definitely one serious dude. I think it's Solomon John tells Airmail, nice enough though. When Solomon John got up to talk to friend Kohberger, made his way to the DJ booth where he also made an impression. He was asking me about my speakers, all kind of technical stuff. Zach Cartwright tells Airmail, but he had this way about him. Those people that don't understand personal space. He was one of them. He just got real close and it was off-putting. Cartwright says he was eventually had to dismiss Kohberger, telling him, I'm DJing, man. I'll catch you later. Solomon John soon joined Kohberger by the pool, but now suspected murderer did not stay for long, according to his new acquaintance. You just go back to the Court TV feed. They're still on a break. Let's go in here. It says Solomon John watched Kohberger abruptly jump up without warning and approach a girl in a black thong bikini with pink hair and a complex tattoo design on her left thigh. Then Kohberger, after only a brief conversation, asked her for her phone number, and he got it. Whoa, he scored. Reports Airmail. Kohberger allegedly did not stop there either. Next, moving to a woman friend. Next, as if a man was on a mission, he turned to the pink-haired woman friend, and also in a black two-piece, and asked for her number too. And he succeeded once again, according to Airmail. Kohberger then left the party, according to Solomon John. The two women later told Airmail that they never heard from Kohberger, but both did say that they did receive several hang-up calls in the aftermath of the party. 4 months later, University of Idaho student would be found dead in an off-campus home just a mile down the road. Let's see. He's back due in court and exonerated. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I don't know really the validity, but I find it interesting. We'll wait here. We're waiting for Court TV to come back. I'm a little disappointed. Again, the testimony or the argument that I wanted to see from the defense got cut short. I don't see a part 5 on East Idaho News yet, so we're at the mercy of Court TV. If I don't see anything that's interesting there, I'm going to play Gabriela Vargas's testimony because that was the one I really wanted to hear today. Yeah, I completely agree too, Truth. I completely agree. I don't think any of this helped the defense today. From what I was seeing and what I was hearing and reading, I don't think any of this helped the defense today, to be honest with you. All right, Court TV is going to come back up live. I'm not sure if we're going to see any more courtroom footage because I think court is done for the day. I think, if anything, it helped the prosecution today.
So it's not as easy as just getting a profile and sticking it in your computer and having an answer. Oh, absolutely not. I've had cases that have taken me 14 months to solve.
A lot of back and forth today in the courtroom. As a matter of fact, the hearing just ended in Idaho for defendant Bryan Kohberger. Some of the big takeaways, as Chanley was just telling us, the judge is holding that trial date firm on the court's calendar, October 2nd,
so no
denying
leeway.
that request to stay the proceedings from the defense. And he is going to take under advisement all of the testimony and arguments made today and issue his ruling at a later date about what the defense should receive in discovery. Essentially, they want to know everything about the process that was done and the genealogical DNA testing to figure out that it was the offspring of Papa Kohberger on that knife sheath snap. And the state is saying, look, under the rules, that's not covered. You know, all we do is use that as a tool to find a lead. Then we confirm the lead through other pieces of evidence that we've uncovered.
Yeah, I mean,
before I bring in my expert panel, I want to play a clip from the hearing today where the defense presented a witness who's an attorney and a consultant at trial on DNA evidence. And here, the defense is talking about how they want 3 other unidentified men and their DNA to be put into the CODIS system, that national law enforcement system. Let's take a look.
In our case, there are 3 other unidentified male profiles. What are we missing?
Well, I believe at this moment we have all of the reports of the testing from Idaho State Police Laboratories. What I believe was requested and what has not been produced is any direct information and documentation of whether those profiles were uploaded to state or
no. I'm guessing she might have had COVID.
All right, so the defense here using this witness to establish the point that they want to know whose DNA this is. Who are these 3 unidentified males whose DNA was there at the house? And then on the contrary position, the state is saying, well, we can't just put the DNA of these individuals into the CODIS system that's used in our criminal justice system. These individuals would be ineligible, is what the state is saying. Let me bring in our panel. Boy, oh boy, am I in great company tonight. First up, in Miami, Florida, criminologist, author, and professor at St. Thomas University, Dr. Debbie Goodman is with us. In Los Angeles, California, retired FBI special agent and lawyer, Bobby Chacon is with us. Also in Los Angeles, senior reporter for DailyMail.com, the host of Daily Mail Crime on TikTok, and victim advocate for Project Cold Case, Caitlin Becker. And in California, clinical forensic neuropsychologist and professor at Pepperdine University, Dr. Judy Ho. Wonderful to have you all on the program. My goodness, I'm in great company, as I said tonight. So let's dig right in. You know, who's right here? I'm so curious why these individuals would be ineligible to go into the CODIS system, which helps us when there's criminal conduct, as we know. Maybe they're not criminals. Bobby Chacon, I want to tap you for this one and really hit on your expertise here. Why do you think the state would say, we can't do this?
Well, you know, it's a civil liberties issue. I mean, you can't just throw anybody into CODIS. You have to be a suspect in a crime to do those kind of searches. We can't We can't just take random samples of people. You know, that house probably had many, many male DNA samples in it, in the living room, the kitchen, wherever. We couldn't just collect all of those and throw them in, you know, in a shotgun fashion into CODIS, and then, you know, maybe we'll get a crime here and a crime there that they match. I mean, that's a violation of civil liberties. We can't do that. So when you have a suspect identified, then you put them into CODIS, and then you get the lead.
I got you. We just can't take innocent people and put them in that system. Bobby Chika, I knew you would know. Thank you. Okay, so here we go. So the defense wants these things. The state is saying for much of the arguments, we don't have it. I mean, they were asking for logs from 6 months prior in the year. And even the judge at one point was saying, look, if it's not there, it's not there. We can't give you something that just doesn't exist. But we know there is a lot of evidence that is there. We've got surveillance footage, cell phone analysis, videotaped evidence. I mean, all sorts of things that helped the state develop what was initially just a lead from that DNA in Papa Kohberger. Dr. Debbie Goodman, you don't have a horse in this race. Analyze this objectively for us. What is the strength of the state's case, in your opinion, please?
Absolutely. Well, good evening, Julie and our esteemed colleagues. I think that this is such a strong prosecutorial case. Why? Because of what you've mentioned, because of this knife sheath, because we have the phone pings, we have a car on surveillance. What we will also come to find out on October 2nd is that this individual, although we may classify circumstantial evidence such as him reaching out to one or more of our victims on social media, there will also be photos of one or more victims that he has taken on his phone. So I think between not only the tangible DNA evidence, and those of us in the field, we tend to say that DNA is the silent witness. It doesn't speak, Julie, but it speaks volumes. So we have that to go on, plus the totality of the other evidence. And if this defense is really only coming up with the alibi of driving around to nowhere,
there it is.
I feel it's just exceedingly weak.
I'm with you, Dr. Debbie. Yeah, it's a very, very poor alibi. Can we even call it that? The car? I mean, don't even get me started. He's driving past the home where the murders were committed. I have a clip just into our newsroom. We know that hearing was just wrapping up as we were talking with Chanley, and the state is making its final arguments to the judge. Let's listen to this portion of it where they're responding to another one of the defense requests. Apparently, the defense team wanting to know what the protocols of the FBI agents are. Let's watch.
They'll say something like, well, Your Honor, maybe the FBI broke the rules, maybe the FBI didn't. There's no way we can know unless you give us that information. Well, you can say that about anything. Maybe when they were doing this one piece of the investigation, they followed their internal procedures, maybe they didn't. And if that's sufficient to get disclosure, then what the Idaho Supreme Court here said is invalid. It conflicts directly with what they said. So the mere possibility that the FBI or some other law enforcement agency violated the terms of service, that alone should not be enough to force disclosure of the information.
No, they didn't tweet back at me.
Because otherwise you're going to run into this issue
where I did notice they stopped putting it up on the screen, right?
Every single time.
Oh, okay. So the defense attorneys here doing their job, trying to get the distraction everywhere else away from Bryan Kohberger, what the police did, what was done in the crime lab. What about their client? That's what I think many people want to know more about him. Dr. Judy Ho, to you next, please. Want to know if you were able to interview and evaluate Bryan Kohberger, and if, let's just say for the sake of our analysis tonight, he would have to answer you truthfully on everything, and you got to get in a room alone with him and ask him whatever you want. What would you be asking him, please, and why, Doctor?
Why were you driving around?
Well, there are so many questions that I would have for this individual, but there's already a couple of little tip-offs that we can see that could mean that something is a bit amiss, even in the little that we know. For example, even the fact that he was a criminology doctoral student. I mean, clearly there's so many people who pursue this field that have no type of history like this, but sometimes when we're analyzing people who have been mass murderers, you see that they actually have some expert knowledge in fields that might relate to policing or being an attorney or working towards being an attorney in the field of law, it's because it puts them in a place where they can actually understand the system and maybe potentially find a way to evade that system. That is something that we sometimes see when back analyzing some of these cases. But in terms of the questions that I would ask about his childhood history. I would ask about any signs of difficulties with peers from a young age, difficulties with authority, a lot of untapped anger, things that may have been traumatic that weren't dealt with. There's a lot that we know about looking at the profiles of people who, for example, have antisocial personality disorder or who might be deemed colloquially a psychopath. And we see that there's a number of different traits and qualities, maybe not being able to settle into one relationship, going from relationship to relationship to job, perhaps showing signs early on of less empathy than the average individual. There's a plethora of things that we can ask to understand whether or not he may have had the proclivity to do what he is alleged to have done.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Dr. Judy. Last but certainly not least, Caitlin Becker, want to ask you about some of the public sentiment and the public interest. And you've certainly got your finger on the pulse of what's going on the true crime TikTok and really on all the platforms that are discussing this day after day. I mean, nobody has let up in the interest here. What do you think are the biggest unanswered questions today in this case against Bryan Kohberger? Please, Caitlin.
I can tell you the biggest question that we consistently get across Reddit, social media, our TikToks. I mean, we have millions of views and millions of comments, and most of them say the same thing. They want to know the motive and they want to know the connection.
Yep.
Those are the things that people have the biggest questions about. Yep. Why did he target this house, these victims? Was it one victim? Was it two victims? Was it all four victims? Right. What was the reason? What was the motive? And what is the connection?
Absolutely, Caitlin. I mean, it's been something I've been
said that all along too.
Pondering, thinking about how I would try the case. As somebody who used to serve as a prosecutor, what would I go forth with? Dr. Debbie Goodman, let me bring you back in on a point. We know there was a lot of social media backlash about Dylan Mortensen, who's going to be a key witness for the state, maybe the one who IDs Bryan Kohberger. She got to look at the guy with the bushy hair, the bushy eyebrows, you know, the dark shirt, the mask. Maybe she's going to be a key to this case. I think so. But people online were very suspicious. Why didn't she call police? Wouldn't he have had blood all over him if he did 4 homicides? Tell me what you think about that, Dr. Debbie. The idea that somebody could potentially, kill 4 people, if it was him, if he did do what police say he did, murdered 4 people, and then walk by someone else and not touch her. Why is that?
Yeah, great question. To which I will say, Julie, when we have these types of individuals, murderers, and they decide they will plan their work, they'll work their plan, everything A to Z, they are in charge of. So although he's this PhD student studying, but my theory on this is that it's an acronym I created, JAR, J-A-R. I think this was an individual deeply rooted with jealousy, anger, and revenge. I think our 4 victims represented everything that he was not, particularly from a socialization standpoint. They were smart, they were outgoing, very connected to their own peer group. This individual was not. I think he wanted to be. I think he had this purpose in mind. These individuals who participate in mass murders, serial murders, they're very selective about everything. The victimology, the day, the time, the weapon, and such. And if they don't want to kill somebody, they will not. So I do feel that, unfortunately and tragically, our 4 victims were the planned and purposeful target of this individual. And with our Dylan, our housemate, our roommate here, he did not want to proceed with the taking of the life.
Dr. Debbie Goodman, that is fascinating. I hope you write an article on this. Maybe you already have, but if you haven't, you could call it a jarring case. And I wonder if with that if there is a revenge component with him reaching out, as we know he did, on Instagram to at least two of these beautiful young people, and there was no response back. So you wonder if that could have perhaps served as motive here. Dr. Debbie Goodman, always a delight to have you on the show. Thank you so much for lending us your expertise tonight. My other guests are going to be able to stay with me. Coming up next after the break, we've got some brand new developments for you in the Lindsay Shiver murder for hire case. That's right, the Bahama Mama, accused of conspiring with her lover and a hitman who's an aspiring rapper to kill her husband.
They love all those little rhymey things, Bahama Mama, and all that stuff, don't they? I don't know. I'm a little disappointed, to be honest with you. They cut out on the most important part of the hearing today at the end, after we saw the testimony of the defense expert witnesses, and then the judge seemed like he was having some back and forth with the defense. They were arguing, and they're like, all right, let's cut out. Da, 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 da. I'm like, and now I can't find that piece of footage. It's nowhere. I'm even looking on the East Idaho News website. It's not even there. But I think that we can do this. The most important testimony I wanted to hear today was the Gabriela Vargas testimony. Let's bring that up. It's about 30 minutes or so. And if anything cuts in to Court TV, I'll keep watching the stream and we'll jump over there. So let's play through this here.
I'm going to ask you a question and then come back to the minute.
It's really hard to hear.
I am an investigative genetic genealogist and also a woodworker. Woodworking sounds really interesting. I think we're going to focus on your investigative genealogy today. But before we talk about your work history, I want to know a little bit more about your educational background. After high school, did you have more formal education?
I did. I went on to the College of San Mateo and received a degree and certificate in administration of justice and post certification. And then I went on to San Jose State University and studied criminology and with a minor in sociology.
Did you graduate?
I did.
And was that with a bachelor's degree?
It was.
What year was that?
You're moving in. I want to say 2010 maybe.
Believe it or not,
I don't remember.
it's been a few years since you graduated.
It's been 5 years.
Right. Did you take any courses in forensic genetics?
At that time, this did not even exist. And the courses only have started to recently come out. There is no current standard of certification for the work of investigative genetic genealogy.
Is that newer than your college education degree?
Absolutely. This is a technique that only has come to light in the last 5 years.
And now we're talking about the forensic investigative genetic genealogy.
Yes.
How did you get interested in it?
I really had no knowledge of it when I got involved. I had some health issues that I was going through and needed genetic testing. Unfortunately, my insurance wouldn't cover it, so I took direct-to-consumer DNA test and used the results to upload to a medical site. In the process of that, I found out that my father was not my father.
I don't think they're going to throw it out.
I then went on a mission to figure out how to identify.
DNA is way too critical in cases. It's way too critical. It could convict you and it can exonerate you. I just don't see it getting thrown out at all. I really don't. Because how the importance of it in cases. If they have DNA, that is very, very important and prevalent to a case. I just don't see it getting thrown out at all. I don't see it. And even if they did, you have cast And I think caste is going to be extremely important in this case as well, too.
My biological father was.
I just don't think they're going to throw it out. It's not going to throw it out.
Very much so. 100%.
And I honestly think today, putting all these experts up on the stand for the defense was to just kind of draw this out a little bit more, to create, more things for the judge to think about, to delay the case maybe a couple of days to a week, to give them more time. Because if you see, all the things that they're doing is just trying to gain access to getting more time and not get to that October, 1st or 2nd date. So it's just another delay tactic, in my opinion.
Self-taught. And this was a time in my life where I was going through cancer treatment. I had a very short prognosis of lifespan left and became incredibly depressed. And so once I identified my biological father, I then wanted to give back. And so I started a free online Facebook group for people who had gotten the same results or were adopted or donor conceived, and I started finding their relatives for them.
That turned into you attending the trainings for genetic genealogy?
So at the time, I did not. So in 2018, in the spring, is when I started doing just genetic genealogy, which is the same concept essentially, but you're just doing it with adoptees, donor conceived and unknown parentage cases. I did a lot of online readings and reading scholarly articles, watching tutorials, just learning about the technique itself. I didn't have any involvement in investigative genetic genealogy until August 2019, when I was asked to join one of the companies that provides that service.
When you joined that company, did they train you in those methods?
No, they actually presume that you have to know what you're doing in order to be a part of the team. And so the presumption is made that you already have enough experience. I continued my own education and training by attending conferences, doing workshops, following other pioneers in the field that had successful case rates, and continued to just educate myself through what I could find on the internet. Because at that time, certification programs, accreditation, any sort of courses, they didn't exist. Those are very, very recent things that have come out.
You mentioned that there were groups of people that you learned from and worked with. Did you check your work or have they checked your work?
Oh, absolutely. The first company, so I've worked for two well-known companies in this industry. And then I have created since my own company. One of the first company, you worked individually on cases, but it's a collaboration amongst the team. And so you keep each other up to date on what's going on. You ask for advice, guidance, help. The second company that I worked for was more of a team structured way of working cases. And that was at the point when I began actually training all incoming volunteers that wanted to get to learn how to work these cases.
That first company you worked for, what was that called?
Identifinders International.
How many years did you work for Identifinders?
Just over 2.
So wait a minute. Truth says it doesn't matter how small the DNA sample was. Gabrielle used DNA the size of a gnat's eyebrow to solve a 35-year-old cold case, and she did it in 4 days. Well, wouldn't that help the prosecution then? Wouldn't it help the prosecution in this case if they're saying like, oh, the sample is too small, it's been processed too much? if that's true, then wouldn't that help? Yeah, like he's saying right here. Sorry, I just saw this head. Which happens when you hire an expert for lost cause like Bryan. Wouldn't that help wouldn't that help the prosecution? To your argument? I'm not arguing with you, but I'm just saying, like, in general, that would help the prosecution, wouldn't it? Because they can just turn around and say, look, Your Honor, this expert, this expert, yeah, that's what I stated. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I was just reading that. But this expert, would help, where they're arguing, oh, the sample is too small, it's this, is that, it's been ran through too much. That's a great point.
2.5 years, and that's where you did investigating.
Yeah, I can turn this on.
And other teenage detective work. Yes,
No,
with
there's no PC.
identifiers, I only did suspect cases, so only.
And they're not doing. I'm looking at Court TV, and they're not doing anything on Kohberger right now. I'm so disappointed that they pulled off from that clip. That they pulled off from the most compelling part of the whole damn day. The most compelling part of the whole damn day. I just sat through and streamed 4 hours of testimony from experts where one of them, I mean, I don't want to be a jerk, but it's putting me to sleep. And then we get to the end of the day where court's going to wrap, and the defense now is putting in arguments to the judge, and Court TV's like, oh, well, we're going to go take a station break. And they come back and they don't play any of that argument. In the middle of the argument, they pull out. Hello, I want to watch that. So, here we are. It's ridiculous, right, Danielle? Why would they do that? That's the part we wanted to see. It's the part we wanted to see. All right, we'll go back to this, though. I'm finding it interesting.
Murder and rape, violent crime cases. They did not do DOE cases at the time that I was working with them.
So you're talking about those kind of cases that you did, those were for law enforcement, you were identifying somebody that was under.
Yes.
Okay, and you worked with checks there while you did that for 2.5 years?
Yes.
The next place you worked, what was that?
The DNA DOE project.
What do you mean by that? You mentioned that in your last.
DOE is an unidentified remains. The DNA DOE project specifically takes on adult DOE cases, not baby cases. So I work those cases on my own with my company, but it's identifying not suspects, only unidentified remains.
And you were not law enforcement there. You were not doing anything for law enforcement there, so it's a little bit different. Do I understand that?
So for both companies, we were working on behalf of law enforcement. We would contract these cases with law enforcement, but law enforcement was not in fact working the case. The genealogists were working the cases.
Okay. For law enforcement to get it.
Yes.
All right. And so how long did you work at that?
I was with the DNA DOE project for about 2 years.
And is that where you did some human training about genetic genealogy?
Yes.
From there, where did your career take you?
Well, I ended up opening my own company, but the DNA DOE project offered me the opportunity to be an intake specialist. So my primary role was when somebody was interested in doing this type of work and wanted to learn the technique, we would bring them on board, and I was the one who would teach them the process. So all new volunteers were on a specific case that was run by me, and I would not only train them, but also check their work, make sure that they were documenting things properly and that the documents matched with the proper person that they put in the tree. I also, the University of New Haven had also started a forensic investigative genetic genealogy course that you could take that had a practicum at the end of it. The DNA Go Project was the first organization that took on a cohort of students. The first year of this course that was offered, it was it wasn't fine-tuned. So the students that I took on for the internship, there were 6 students in total. They really had very limited knowledge of the technique, of the meaning of anything really. And so I would spend hours training them, and at the end of 7 weeks, I led them to a solve of a case.
You were trusted with me.
Yes, I was.
Do you know roughly how many law enforcement forensic investigative genetic genealogy cases you work?
I have worked just for law enforcement cases probably around 25 to 30.
And the Go Project, how many of those kinds of cases?
So that would include all cases.
The 25 includes the Go cases?
Yeah, it's about 25 to 30 would encompass any case that I have worked that is law enforcement case, not including the cases that were unknown parentage cases.
And of the other kinds of genetic genealogy, how many times have you worked with cases in genetic genealogy other than that?
How many cases? Minimum 25. I still have people every day who, it depends. Some people just don't know what any of this means. And so it's as simple as just looking at their matches and explaining it to them, and they do it on their own. But actually working cases, probably another 25 to 30 that are just unknown parentage cases.
And have you testified before in court?
I have not.
Let's talk about what did you get. How did you get involved in our case?
I was contacted by defense. Well, I take that back. I was contacted by somebody in this field. I don't know if I can say who it was or if it's relevant. Asking if I would be willing to talk to the defense. And I agreed, and I had that, it was a Zoom call in which I was asked basically just to explain the process in which I go through from start to finish on a case. So what is, from when law enforcement contacts me to when I provide the investigative lead back to law enforcement, what is the process? And that was the extent of my involvement at the time.
Ms. Vargas, what I want to do is I want to briefly run through that.
You know what it is?
When law enforcement calls you when you get.
I kind of cheated a little bit, and I had some ice cream, and I hadn't had ice cream in like probably 2 months, and that sugar zinged right through me, and I'm just crashing now. I cheated. I had a little ice cream, but yeah, I'm crashing hard right now. Sorry. I'm disappointed. I wanted to see that argument from the defense, and they're not even playing it on court TV. I'm sure the video will probably be out tomorrow at some point, but we'll finish this.
What's your first step?
So it's a complex, it's very complex. Essentially, law enforcement will contact me and say they have a case that they are unable to solve, and they would like to, they like my services. I first evaluate what type of case is it, and are there any, what is the DNA that is that is involved. Do we have to extract the DNA? Have you already extracted the DNA? So there's a lot of preliminary questions. Once we establish that and they agree to take, have me take on the case, I have them set up to ship the sample, whether it be something that needs to be extracted to the lab that does that, or DNA that's already been extracted that needs to be sequenced. The law enforcement agency will then send that to a third-party forensic lab. At that point, when the lab receives the sample, I essentially take over the case until I provide the genetic lead back to, or the investigative lead back to the agency. In the meantime, I will stay in contact with usually the detective and provide updates on, did it pass quality check in the lab? It's being sequenced now. The data file has been complete. It's gone through bioinformatics. I've uploaded it, to GEDmatch. Do you want to upload to FTDNA, family tree DNA, because there's an additional charge for that? And so I keep them kind of abreast as to what's going on, but essentially the case is mine. It's in my control until I am done.
And do you, during those communications with law enforcement, do you take their direction, and if they say stop working, you stop working?
Absolutely. The case belongs to them. It is not my case. It is not my data. I am providing a service for them. The only request that I have is they not have another company work the case at the same time, because it's just a lot of work that you go through. But I am at their direction. Yeah, I don't.
But it's not as easy as just getting profiles, sticking it in your computer and having it.
Oh, absolutely not. I've had cases that have taken me 14 months to solve.
Why, you mentioned you use GEDmatch or family tree DNA.
I just want to break into Court TV really quick because they're doing an update on Rachel Morin. And I don't want to miss that because that's extremely important as well. We can come back to this. All right, let's hear this.
This guy, about 5'9", 160 pounds, 20 to 30 years old, believed to be of Hispanic descent. They're asking anybody for information to please call or email their tip line. We've got that info on your screen right now. And reporter Jack Watson from Scripps News Baltimore has more now for us tonight on the sheriff's announcement.
Take a look at this video. This is a man leaving a home in Los Angeles. Authorities believe he's the one who killed a mother in Harford County.
We know nothing more about him other than he was in LA and committed that crime in March.
I think they know who it is.
Here in August and is the murderer.
I think they're just trying to isolate him.
12 days after her disappearance, a suspect in the case of Rachel Morin. This man, a suspect whom they say invaded a home and assaulted a young girl.
And I think they have video of him coming in and seeing his face.
Colonel William Davis with the sheriff's office here says they don't know his name, but they know he's 5'9", 160 pounds, and of Hispanic descent. They identified him through DNA evidence.
We believe the suspect acted alone, and he doesn't represent the entire Hispanic community of Harford County, who we are now partnering with to identify this suspect.
Rachel Morin was reported missing on the evening of Saturday,
I think
August 5th.
they're trying to isolate him
Her
and
body
not
was
get him
found
to
at the
run.
Ma and Pa Trail that Sunday. Morin was
I think that this could possibly be someone from Mexico that might have ties or has someone or the capability to get through to Mexico, and they don't want him to run. And that's why I think they're saying, like, we know who you are, but they're going to try to get him to hunker down in some spot and not run. That's what I believe. I think they really do know who this guy is, and I think they have his face going in and out of that house.
No.
Authorities here in Harford County are caution when walking their trails and to report anything suspicious you see. With the suspect identified, they are asking anyone with anything they know to come forward.
Our community will not be defined by this tragedy.
I don't think it's going to be too much longer until this guy gets caught. Oh, breaking news. Let's see.
Breaking news to share with you now on two major stories. First up, in Utah, prosecutors have announced they will not seek the death penalty against defendant Corey Richins. She's that mother who wrote a children's book on grief after her husband's death. Richins is accused of poisoning her husband, Eric, with a fatal dose of fentanyl. Prosecutors have decided not to seek the death penalty after conferring with the victim's father and with his two sisters. We'll continue following that case for you, of course. And the other big breaking news tonight out of California. An appeals court has revived lawsuits from two men who allege that Michael Jackson sexually abused them for years when they were young boys. A three-judge panel has found the lawsuits of Wade Robson and James Safechuck should not have been dismissed by a lower court. They also ruled that the men can claim that the two Michael Jackson-owned corporations, also named as defendants in these cases, had a responsibility to protect them. Of course, we'll keep an eye on this case for you as well and report any more developments here on Court TV.
Wow. That's crazy. I guess that documentary did a little bit of justice for them.
Bob, looks like you.
I'm sure you all watched that. All right, let's go back to that testimony. I know I'm kind of jumping around, kind of a free-form Kohberger stream tonight. I was hoping that we would see that the rest of the part of the hearing, but it probably is not going to come out until tomorrow. I totally noticed. Thank you, Brian. It never had a wrench before. Yeah, Carrie, I wrenched you like an hour ago. I announced it.
So there's only, there's many direct-to-consumer databases, Ancestry, 23andMe, MyHeritage, Family Tree DNA, all of which you can order from the company a DNA test, spit in the tube, and send it off back to the company. Ancestry and 23andMe allow you to download your data and upload free to these other sites as a normal consumer. Law enforcement cases, however, are only permitted to be uploaded into Family Tree DNA and to GEDmatch for a fee. GEDmatch, however, is not a direct-to-consumer testing site. It is only a database where people take their test results from the company in which they tested and upload this site to the site to get more matches, essentially, or higher, closer relatives, higher matches.
Does law enforcement have access to all of GEDmatch?
If properly uploaded, there is a fee that you must pay. You must upload through a separate database than the one in which consumers upload through. You must pay a fee, and you, depending on the case, may be limited on the matches that you are able to see.
Why is that?
The terms of service have changed several times since the Golden State Killer case came out, and which investigative genetic genealogy became very popular. It used to have everyone opted in, then it GEDmatch opted everybody out, and you had to choose to opt into law enforcement match as a consumer. Then it decided to automatically opt Doe cases in. So to break that down, if you were to take a DNA test in Ancestry and want to upload to GEDmatch, when you input that file, it's going to ask you, do you consent to law enforcement matching? And if you hit no, and I am working violent crime non-Doe case, I should not be able to see that you are a match to my unknown DNA contributor.
You said should not.
Should not.
Does it happen anyway?
It does. It has.
And is that because there's a problem with GenMatch? It's just if you upload it and all of a sudden these things that shouldn't happen did?
There there are a lot of tools that are available in GenMatch. These tools allow you to make comparisons of two or more people and how they relate to each other and share DNA. One of these tools allows you to compare many matches, not only against your DNA profile that you're working, but also against all of their matches to see if their matches match each other. When you utilize this tool, there is a feature that you can edit the list of kits that are originally selected.
What does that mean? Edit the list of kits?
So when you upload your profile, it takes about 24, 48, 72 hours max to batch and tokenize in the system. It then produces a list of matches, okay? And these matches are biological relatives to the unknown DNA contributor. We don't know right away what relationship they are, but they are all biological relatives. Okay? One of the tools is called the matrix tool. And what the matrix does is it compares the match, the DNA profile against a specified number of the profile's matches. So for example, if I run the profile's kit number, they're all given a kit number. If I run the profile's kit number and I compare it to 100 of the profile's top matches, it will in turn compare the profile to all of the matches and all of the matches to everyone on that list of 100 people. Okay?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Let me make sure. So you have one person, you get a list of their matches, but this tool also gives you a list of those matches.
So it's a multi-step process. So initially, if I am putting my subject's DNA in the system, I don't know who it belongs to, I put their kit number in. You get a kit number after you upload the data, okay? I put the kit number in, I run a tool called one-to-many, and it's gonna show the top 500 matches that this subject has. I then would go to utilize the manipulation tool, the loophole. You would then go click the top match and run their matches. So the top match of your subject's top match, you would run their matches, okay? Once you run their matches, there is a tool that allows you to edit that list of matches. So we're looking at the match.
We want to make sure that we have the complete file.
Okay, Mr. Thompson.
We had told them.
We want to make sure that we have the complete file.
Okay, Mr.
matches of the subject's top relative, not the subject's matches, right? When you edit the kit list, if you
I was
put
muted.
the subject's kit number into
Oh, that was great. By the way, I was pulling those tweets up because I was saying I was I was saying that I know. Shh, 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 shh. Am I still muted? No, I was pulling the tweets up because I was saying it was not the only one that was frustrated that things got cut off today. It seemed like it happened all day, and it's almost like Court TV did it on purpose. And I'm pissed because I wanted to see the better half of that last part of the argument because that's when it was getting good. And I don't know why they would have cut away, and no one has posted the rest of that. I'm still waiting. So it's super annoying. But we'll keep playing through.
to this tool that you're going to now analyze these matches, it tricks the system and allows you to see matches
driving
that
around.
you wouldn't have seen when you ran your initial match list.
Oh, I love that.
And those can be people that did not agree with law enforcement to see their DNA.
Those matches that are revealed are only matches that have been opted out.
And that is only the ones that are supposed to be.
They're only the ones. If you see that the subject matches one of these people, because again, you're not looking at your subject's matches, you're looking at that person's top cousin, let's say, that top cousin's matches, right? When you put your subject's kit number in there, you're gonna see now his kit, her kit, compared against the matches of their top match. When you find, you then scroll down and you look, oh, here's the match for 100 centimorgans. You go back to your screen where you have your list of your subject matches and you say, I don't have a match with 100 centimorgans. That proves that that person has opted out of law enforcement matching, but I'm still able to see them.
And so that's a way to use this tool to get past what law enforcement is supposed to do.
I struggle with this. I'm sorry. It is a tool that is provided in the database that essentially allows you to see things that you're not supposed to see. And as a result of seeing those things, you're then using that match to find who, to identify your subject. So you're violating the terms of service by seeing these matches.
This is in general.
This is in gen match.
How about family tree DNA? That's the other law enforcement category.
There's two things that I'm aware of in family tree DNA. One is not paying to upload. So there's very strict parameters when it comes to law enforcement kits. One of the parameters is if you as a consumer are a match to a law enforcement kit, you cannot see that kit as a regular consumer. So law enforcement kits can see everybody in the database that have opted in. Now, Family Tree also has an opt-in out feature that is not the same as GenMatch. You have to go into the setting.
You know what I'm afraid of? You get this out in the case. Jurors are going to fall asleep. Even if she's breaking it down in layman's terms. I mean, I'm bored watching this. I'm sure you all are too. I'm going to finish it. We got about another 15 minutes of it. But this is, you know, you get this out in open court with a jury, they're going to fall asleep during this shit. And, you know, this is like this is what happened in the OJ case when they brought it all into the OJ case. You know, no one had heard the level of, you know, breaking down DNA in that case. And then, you know, you bring it into a courtroom setting, you have jurors there that have been there for a long time, and you're presenting all this in there. It's just, holy smokes. You know? All right, let's keep playing through here.
Find it.
Yeah,
and toggle
exactly.
whether or not you choose to opt in or out. Many people are unaware of this. Another instance is uploading the data as if you were a consumer. You bypass the fees that you're supposed to pay to Family Tree DNA or a law enforcement kit, whereas a consumer it's free. And you also get full access to the database, including matches that have opted out. Does this happen? Yes.
If I'm an attorney and I have a case where genetic genealogy is utilized by law enforcement, and I want to know if they follow the protocols and rules, do I need the genetic genealogy information that, like, you produce as a forensic genetic genealogist? Do I need that information so I already know?
If you wanted to know what the process was, whether or not there was work product, if you wanted to verify how did you come to your conclusion, absolutely.
How about if I wanted to know what the rules were?
You would need the data. You would need to see the data.
Oh, my neck.
I know. You have a question about another database, MyHeritage. Is that one that law enforcement uses?
Many in this industry have been known to upload to MyHeritage. Essentially, these databases, you're only bound by the terms of service. And there
You shot a
are
Kohberger there.
workarounds in every one of the databases that somebody knows about and has told you about, or you yourself have tried. There's really no justification for it. You think you're doing the right thing, you want to help, and
There's a lot of information in genetic genealogy.
there is. It is a very tedious process. There is a lot of time, effort, and work that goes into it. In the end, what I provide to law enforcement is an investigative lead, and it is up to the agency to then take over their case and confirm that my lead is in fact correct.
How does law enforcement upload my opinion?
So the upload to these databases is you go to the website, you create a free account, you take the data file, you hit upload, and voila, you've got now a list of matches. It's the same as a regular consumer would do in both MyHeritage and Family Tree DNA. GEDmatch law enforcement uploads now through a separate portal called GEDmatch Pro, but there are instances of people doing work on behalf of law enforcement uploading to GEDmatch through the consumer portal as if it were a consumer kit.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions. I'm not sure if the prosecutor does.
Okay, thank you. This one must be excused. Thank you, Ms. Vargas. Appreciate you.
Okay, I think that's going to be it. Let's see if we have some argument here. Another shot at Kohberger.
Your Honor, our last witness is Becca Barlow. I think she's probably in the small library.
That's it. The feed is cut. Becca Barlow. All right, let's see what's going on here. See if we can find any more Kohberger. Kohberger. Yeah, nap time's over. Let's wake up. Exactly. I don't know if this is Becca Barlow. I think that is. I wonder what Emily D had to say. Because I don't see that fifth part of that video popping up. I don't think it's going to happen. Let's see. Let's see. Part 1, part 3, part 4, no part 5. Sucks. Sucks. They cut it off, damn it. Bryan Kohberger back in court. What's this? Let me see. Kohberger's defense to get to see the full DNA evidence. Elizabeth Vargas reports. Kohberger hearing. Lawyer reacts. 2 days ago. Kohberger. I think that's it, man. I don't think there's really any much more. Trial moves forward to October 2nd date. Let's see this from Idaho News 34 minutes ago. Let's pull this up. It's only about a minute and a half, but let's see what they have to say. Oops, I grabbed the wrong stream. I did. Court TV, you punked out on us, man. I'm a little disappointed. Let's see.
Bryan Kohberger appearing in person at the Latah County Courthouse as the judge rules trial will go on as scheduled with that October 2nd start date. The motion hearing lasting the entire day Friday, where the judge denied the defense's motion to stay proceedings, which means jury selection will start in just 5 weeks. But the majority of Friday's discussion centered around DNA. Hours of testimony from multiple DNA experts for the defense, pointing out the possibility of improper procedures as investigators use genealogical DNA databases to map out a family tree based on the trace DNA that was found at the scene. The judge will issue a ruling on what evidence they need to provide the defense at a later date. Now, as for an alibi, if Kohberger plans to present one during trial, the judge ruled he needs to submit that information to the state by September 8th. His attorneys previously saying he's had a long history of driving alone at night, which he was doing during the times of the murders. The court will hear several remaining motions September 22nd, with jury selection starting September 25th. Then that final pretrial conference on September 29th. It's a lot to accomplish in the final weeks leading up to trial as defendant Bryan Kohberger faces the death penalty if convicted. Reporting in studio, I'm Karen Lair.
Yeah, what's going on in the chat? What's going on in the chat? I see a bunch of people fighting in here, and I don't want that. If it's something that's going on that's not supposed to be going on my chat, take it out, please, because I don't know what's going on. What's going on here? I see shut up, Richie Summers telling people to shut up. What's going on? Damn accident? Something we did here or what? What's going on? No drama. It's a drama-free zone. Something that came over here. What happened? I'm a little bit behind. Came over from Tanya's. What's going on at Tanya's? People fighting? What's going on? Who's fighting? Not in here. Let's see. Because bad drove all night. Let's see. LTL. I accidentally timed out Giovanna and chat. I came out to pause. Hey man, shit happens. Shit happens. It's all right. All right. It's all right. No one's fighting. Calm down. Everything will be good. Everything's good. Let's all get along. No one's fighting. No one's fighting. All right. I think that's all we have. I think that's all we have. I'm going to go jump over on if anybody is interested in any of the TPG news. I just Timepiece gentleman Anthony Farah, I just got invited over to my neighboring friend stream, JJ's watch hangout. We're going to do, actually we have another victim tonight on his chat. So I think I'm going to go hang out over there because I think we're kind of exhausted the Kohberger stuff. But I will drop the stream if you all are interested in going over and being caught up on all the latest TPG. So essentially, there's another gentleman that was caught up in the scandal that was scammed. And actually, he was the person that exposed. I just don't say y'all brought the drama. It was an accident. The stupid buttons are sensitive. Yeah. I mean, it's all good. Listen, it's all good. We all need to get along and support each other. I just didn't know what was going on. That's why I was asking. I was like, what is going on? So if anybody is interested in TPG, I'm going to head over on that panel. I just got invited. I think we've exhausted all the Bryan Kohberger stuff. So I might jump over on JJ's channel and you all can come over and watch that. There's not really much more to cover. I think Tanya did like an 8-hour stream today. I did combine both of them almost 7 hours. So there's not much more. But I'll drop the link in the chat if y'all want to jump over there. And, oh, that's the wrong link. Hang on. No, that should take you over there. I just got invited on the panel. So that's about to start soon. So I'm going to end this stream. I'm going to head over there. I should be back tomorrow night, late tomorrow night. We'll see what happens in Kohberger. If there's any new updates, we'll do that. But go over, join that stream. I'm going to do this. Wait, better yet, I'm going to do this. Hang on. Better yet, I'm going to do this. I'm going to link. So y'all just hang out here for a second. What I'm going to do is when this live ends, all you need to do is hit join the next stream. And it will let everybody know. You're not going to want to miss this because it's going to be really good. And I'm being invited over. So I'm going to take the opportunity to go hang out with my buds. And when I end my stream here, you'll get redirected. And I'm going to go hang out on that panel. But go over and watch. You'll get some latest TPG stuff. JJ's been killing it over there and getting all the interviews lately. So good for him. I'm so proud of his what he's been doing over there. So yeah, I'm gonna go over. I got invited, so I don't want to miss that. And go hang out. Go redirect over there. Let me hit the outro. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, late, probably after 10 o'clock sometime. Okay. If I can find my outro. Bye, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Hey, we had marathon stream today. There was a lot of people that are over here with me the full 7 hours. I want to thank all of you. Welcome all the new mods. Carrie H, Lakota, Danielle, you all have got wrenches. You've all been here for me. You support me a lot. But actually, I'll hit this little thing first. This is a little Anthony Farrow right here, Timepiece Gentleman. Ready?
One, I'm young enough. Two, I'm confident enough that I'm always going to make money in something. If I gave up if I never sold another watch tomorrow, I could start selling paper cups, plastic cups, and I'll do good at it.
All right, watch the redirect after the stream. Just hit the button. I'll see you all later. Be well, be safe. I'll see you probably late tomorrow night. We'll just keep out for the tile. We'll do some stuff here. Probably some more updates on Kohberger or the Rachel Morin case. We'll see what breaks. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Thank you so much. Bye.